Hello, how are you doing today? So, at the beginning of every week, I aim to offer an in depth look at what influences us, our potentials and obstacles, and our intellectual, emotional, and spiritual energies. I also look at trends, glimpses of the future, um, things that are unfolding at a very sort of internal level and how they can be reflected into the external world. Just because we all need a bit of foresight to kind of make it through this journey of life, and just to sort of stay on the right track, to stay on the right way. And so it is always a mixed bag because it just depends on what we need to connect into at the time. So it's very much related to where you're at right now. So my name is Laurie Anne, and I'm a psychic medium and I'm an intuitive coach. And today's psychic forecast is a general reading. And if you're listening, then it relates to you right now. And it's all about this craving more information deeply into where you are right now at your current situation, then I really recommend that you connect up with me so we can book you in for a full on session. And then we can really dig into those more specific areas for you. So let me just get right into this, okay? So I've just got some notes here in front of me. All right, so today what I was drawn to look at was the connection with the self. This is always so important, our connection with others, and any obstacles that we're experiencing right now, and what the outcomes are if we follow sort of the right path, and where this all comes together into a bit of a message of wisdom and direction. So let me just start. So as I connect into the group energy around this connection to the self, the first thing that shows up here is really interesting. So as any of you know that have been with me for a while, you know that I work with a lot of metaphors and allegories because that's the language of spirit. And spirit doesn't always just sort of give us things in a straightforward way, because it is our job to filter that information through our own truth detection and let the pieces fall where they need to. So we have to do a bit of work in actually interpreting. And so I will interpret to a certain degree and then allow you to take it deeper into your truth. And that's giving you the opportunity to become empowered and to arrive at new awarenesses and new information within yourself. So that's why I stick to this format and I don't try to make sense of it too much, just to a certain degree in a general way. So the first thing that shows up is this idea. Imagine that we're in some medieval torture chamber. I know it's kind of dark, and you're hanging from the ceiling in a cage, right? An iron cage, and it's cold and it's dark and it's damp and it's just an awful place to be. But I'm looking at this cage and I'm thinking, it's kind of almost completely open in the front. It's almost like there's like a safety piece of iron in the front so you don't fall out. And it's like, hang on a minute, this is a weird cage. So the thinking mind, the belief is that you're suspended. In reality, you can't go forward. You're stuck. You're in this cage, and yet you could escape. um, but then it's like, no, I, I would have to jump. I'd have to make a leap and see if I land safely. And so this is where we're at with our connection with ourselves. So let's go into that a bit more, because this connection with the self is your most intimate relationship that you can have. And I'm constantly working in the direction with myself and others to deepen that level of self intimacy in knowing who you are, why you're here, what your gifts are. And so this is showing up as sort of an internal thing that you may or may not be fully consciously aware of. You may be feeling a little bit kind of like a bit stuck on the edge of something, that you need this sense of faith, you need that whatever that is that you need to make that leap of faith. There's that moment just before you jump into that cold lake where you're just, you know that once you get in that water, within maybe a minute, you're going to have acclimatized. And so there's that sense of just what happens just before you make that leap of faith. That's what we're needing to connect to. And so, what is that? It's this X factor, right? Why is it some people can just, fuck it, I'm diving, I'm going, I'm jumping. If I break a leg when I fall, at least I'm out of that freaking cage. And so here's the thing. This is called being stuck in a painful place within the self, but it can be reflected outward into a painful place in your outer life, whether it's a job or a relationship or an aspect of your own job or any kind of a situation where you feel kind of stuck. And it's painful because you're actually quietly suffering. I mean, you're suspended, right? So it's like, well, all your needs are being met, except you can't go anywhere. You can't go forward. And so the point is, this is a quiet, some often unrecognized by yourself and even by others around you, that you're actually in pain. And so we don't actually make a change. We don't find that chutzpah, whatever that magic is, to go, fuck it, I'm jumping. That just before we take that leap of faith. Here's the thing. This is what it is. So this is an interesting philosophy that I've worked with for many years. We don't actually change until the pain of where we're at is finally perceived as greater than the pain that we are believing might happen if we change or make that change. So until that point, we don't change, until the perception of our pain right now is finally perceived as unbearable and greater than what the alternative must be, right? So this is connected into your pain body, your old emotional stories, the old narrative, the faulty narrative of who you are. And you are ready for that little piece of recognition. And so what I would invite you to do is ask yourself, is the pain of where I'm at greater or less than the pain that I'm thinking, if I make this change, will actually create for me? Okay? And like as soon as the penny drops, you've got that magic and you're like, you just jump, you just make that leap of change. So from an energetic perspective, this is where the group energy is at, individually, but also as a group. And so from the big picture, this group that you're part of, this monad, this collection of souls that are where we're all in alignment together in some way. That's why you're listening, okay? There's no mistakes. And that means that this us as a collective are about to take a leap of faith, which is very exciting. So there we go. So we need to decide what's better and where is the pain actually greater, so that we can shift to where the pain is less. And the irony is that the pain may not even be, there may not even be any pain associated to the change, because we make stuff up all the time. We're great storytellers. We're constantly tweaking with the narrative of our life and the narratives of our past and the narratives of the future. And it's like 99% of the time based in faulty evidence. So as we get more connected with ourselves and we start checking more deeply in, is that true? Is that true? Hey, is that actually true? Do I actually know that about that person or that situation? Has someone actually given me that information? Most of the time, no. We just make shit up. So let's be more inquisitive as to what is the truth in the moment that's relative. Okay, so that's a big piece on the connection to the self, but that's always the biggest piece. So the next piece I have here is on our connection to others, right? So our connections to others is very reflective of ourselves, and we attract around us, like all the time, the different types of interactions that are going to help us grow. And if we're looking at it from the right mindset. So right now, the connection to others goes like this. Have you ever shared with someone, a good friend, let's say, or a spouse, and you just needed to get something off your chest? You just needed to share. And sharing is a beautiful thing because it builds intimacy. When we share from an authentic place, it actually increases the other person's understanding of us, and it increases their trust in us because we're showing up in authenticity. So it's a really beautiful thing to share. But sometimes, and we're all guilty of this, and this is what's showing up in the connection to others, you've just shared, and instead of just being able to kind of just be in that place of having shared, the recipient of your sharing quickly intervenes and interrupts and starts throwing in pieces of information from a good place, from a well-intentioned place, to fix you, to help you get on the right track, to give you their opinions and their suggestions. And when you're done, you kind of walk away feeling a bit not heard. Or they share their experience. They try to trump your story, your pain story. Oh, you think that's bad? You should hear what happened to me, kind of stuff. So this is what's going on right now with our connection to others. And so, I say this all the time, we can't change others, but we can certainly inspire through the way we conduct others to rise to a different vibration, but it's still up to them. Otherwise, we're creating codependent kind of agreements. So, even if we received great advice, we just wanted to share. We just wanted that beautiful, nurturing feeling of, I needed to go blah. I don't need all of that other stuff back. I just need to get it off my chest. And so let's create a trend, okay? To create and hold a space for each other to just be ourselves, be authentic, and share, and not move to quickly fix, repair, offer advice or suggestions, and just be in that intimacy of sharing and really seeing this as an opportunity to be known and more understood, but to also, conversely, to understand another person more deeply just by letting them share. Because we are losing touch with intimacy. It's a pandemic. And I don't mean sexual or sensual intimacy. I mean just this beautiful personal intimacy. So we need to just back that up a bit and slow down. So just looking at my notes here. So this business of walking away and feeling a little bit not heard is also a bit of an opportunity to just kind of have that chat with yourself and just be your own sacred witness at that point. Or you could actually stop that person and just say, you know what, I thank you so much for your advice and your suggestions, but you know what, I just need someone to listen to me. Can you just listen? And if when I'm done, I want to ask you, do you have any suggestions? Let me reach that point. Let me sort of reach that place of having completed what I need to sort of move out into and ground in this space. So, and that's a really healthy thing to do. And if you're with a friend that adores you and loves you and respects you, they're going to be like, of course. Yeah, and they'll actually lean in and be even more interested in you because you've just given them permission to not be responsible for fixing you. Hell yes. It isn't their job anyway, right? And that's why we always walk away feeling a little bit kind of confused, because I wasn't asking them to take responsibility or fix me or anything, or any of that. So we lose a little bit of our personal power when we allow that to happen, or when we participate in it and we are the one that's offering all of our advice and suggestions. Okay, so like, hey, guess what, I'm a psychic medium and I'm intuitive coach, and I really get into offering advice. But when I'm with a good friend, I really make a point of just listening. I don't put on my working hat and go into, getting a bunch of information for them, because they didn't ask for it. So it's really important to respect that. So that's our connection with others. I can't believe how cold it is. Okay, so the next piece I'm looking at are obstacles. And so obstacles, what comes up here for the group energy, is losing sight of what balance is to you and falling easily into excess. It could be also deficiency as well, but right now it's feeling like excess, and like moving too quickly into a transition, leaving prematurely, speaking before getting all the information, jumping to conclusions. Like, it's like your kitchen sink. You can pull that plug out and drain all that water out really fast, and gurgle, 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 or you can just turn it and let it slowly drain. And that feels like the action we need to implement, is just let that drain, that slow drain, just slowly let that drain out in a very balanced way, instead of gush, being like a gush of going down and leaving, because it also feels like a loss of energy. So if you have so much energy for your day, and so much essential energy, which is deeper in the body, like jing, like it's like, you don't want to deplete it very quickly. You want to pace it out. So, use a filter and just let things slowly move through that filter. It's like a sewer grid, right? So we've got torrential rain, and the sewer grids are overwhelmed, right? And they're just, the water's right over top, and you can just see a little tiny bit of a swirl of water trying to drain down that hole. And it's because if it were to kind of go whoosh really fast, then it would create an imbalance elsewhere as well. So you just allow it to slowly work its way through and to clear out. So it's like with an emotional release. You don't want it to be big and fast. You want it to be slowly building to its climax and then gently clearing out. It's all about balance. Everything comes down to connection, balance, harmony, using the least amount of energy for the highest outcomes. That's the sort of the foundation of what of the mindset that I find is most beneficial. So it's very, very, very much influenced by Taoist philosophy as well. So in case any of you are curious about that. So that's obstacles. And so now I want to look at the outcomes. If we actually apply this idea of just monitoring, being more mindful where we've been excessive, where we're losing energy too quickly, or we're too fast, we're too excessive in our actions in any capacity, just to slow it down, just to go easy, even eat slower, walk slower, be more mindful, be more sort of, in that sort of connected place. So the outcomes are, guess what? More balance. That doesn't take, an astronaut to figure that one out. So being more clear, more objective, more discernment, and it's coming around making your choices and setting motion into play. So that's the outcome, which is really good. It's just good. So, as a final piece of information on this, it's notice where you have no boundaries around keeping things in balance. You know, maybe it's your buying shoes. You have no kind of budget or boundary around, spending money on shoes. I'm just pulling something out of thin air. Or maybe it's something else. I don't know, whatever it is, but I want you to sort of use your intuition and go, where do I have no boundary around keeping things in balance in my life? Is it eating? Is it drinking? Is it, being on your phone? Is it um, um, anything that's in excess that you know what it is. We all know what it is, right? And so what I invite you to do is to pull it back, create a boundary, give yourself a limitation, like let's say it's your phone. I mean, if you're on Facebook, if Facebook tells you, and it can tell you if you set it up, how much screen time you've had, or your phone will. I'm not even sure how it works because I don't do that. So, but I know that there's that function available because I used to have it and I was like, ooh, that's way too much. So then I curbed it, created a boundary, and now it doesn't sort of steal precious time out of my day. Um, so just create that boundary and see if you notice a difference where you start to feel at the end of the day that you're experiencing more balance and more harmony and more peace, right? So balance needs to be attained, and then we mindfully monitor that. So we can't just create a boundary and then just forget about it. We have to continually check in. Am I actually still doing that? You know what I mean? So that it feels like you are maintaining it, that you are nurturing it, that boundary. And the boundary maybe is not the best word, it's not a limitation, it's not a boundary, it's really a governor, just a governor. I always love this word governor. I'll tell you a little story. Many moons ago, when I was just married and I was 21, I sort of was in transition from a legal secretary into actually, moving on into this work. And I drove a school bus. I drove a big 72-foot school bus. And when you start out with a company, I think it was Travelways, and you're the newbie on the block, they give you the oldest bus in the fleet. And it was an old standard bus. And um, there was a sign on the speedometer that had a red mark, and it said governor, and I never knew what it meant. And so one day I asked, I said, what does that mean? It's like, well, it means that there's a governor on the motor. You can't go faster than 90 kilometers an hour. I'm like, oh, that's why it makes that weird noise when I'm on the 401. It's screaming at me. And it's like, come on, go faster, go faster. So create the idea intentionally of a governor around where you tend to have an excess, and see if that helps you, right? So, and if you get your subconscious mind on board, like create like an affirmation around this, whatever it is for you. I'm not even going to try to pull out any more examples. It gets too, pedantic, but you know what I mean. So I'd love to hear from you how you go with creating an intention around a governor around, just pick one excess that you're dealing with that you want to bring into balance for you. Okay. Um, I should probably stop here, but I actually had made additional notes because, and this is already 45 minutes long. All right, I'm gonna go for it. Okay. Um, because I love the vibration of September. I always have. It's like my favorite month of the year. It's that, a lot of us relate to this feeling of it's like a new beginning, especially in the Northern Hemisphere. And so I wanted to kind of do a peek. What's coming? What's coming for us in the next 12 months? Where are we going to be September 2021? And so I just did a quick check-in. So we have around the heart, the sense of the heart, and what I have is a growing, beautiful, unfolding into feeling more supported in every way. So that's for everybody, right? This is a general one. And then when it comes to your closest connections, your tribe, the people that are closest around you, and it's like more relationship, honesty, balance, and flow. You know, when you're just in sync with somebody and, like they can finish your sentences, or they know you're going to call just before you call, or they send you a text when you're just in a bit of a drama, that is what's coming. So let's stick with these intentions. Let's hold these as powerful intentions, okay? And around career and, you in your element showing up in the world just feels like if you keep holding that intention of being in the element, in your gifts, in what you're here to do, is this sense of coming into deeper fulfillment around that. And so look for that beginning to come more and more true, because it's already seeded. That's why it's coming up in that way. So right now you consider that you are seeding some really good seeds around being more and more in a place of gratitude and fulfillment around making a meaningful difference in this world. However you do that, it could be your job, or it could just be how you show up in the freaking world. And that really should be it. That should be enough. Okay, so let's just keep it simple. The next piece I was looking at is your spiritual intelligence. And spiritual intelligence is something that is so near and dear to my heart because, well, right now I'm teaching about it, and in my program that I'm running, Open Inward. So it's like we need to really get that we're never in this game alone. We're always supported. There's always a hand reaching out to us, and to give us more information, to give us more clarity, to help us move through the challenges that we have in our lives. If we just open our perception, it is truly based in believe it and you will experience it. Yeah. So it is sometimes we need a bit of blind faith. Yeah. And the last piece I have is just believe in yourself. So in the next 12 months, really make it a really good habit to believe in you, to believe in the goodness of who you are, to believe in that you actually make a difference and that you are valuable and you are needed and you are a unique expression in this universe. There's only one of you, and we need you. We need you on board, fully switched on, and doing your thing. Okay, that's a long one. All right, have a fantastic week, and I'll have to put a note in my calendar to plug back into this in 12 months from now and see how we did. Okay? All right, have a great week. We'll see you around. Take care.